name is Holly Martin. I'm the editor of High Plains Journal, and I'm happy to see such a wonderful group of wheat producers in one room. We had a wonderful harvest here in Kansas and Oklahoma area this year, and it's exciting to get together and be able to talk about how we can continue to improve. And so that's what today's mission is all about, is about education and about learning new things and being better, even better at what we do. And so I just welcome you, and I applaud you for spending the day with us and encouraging, trying to learn new things and be even better at your craft. So I want to explain a little bit about the day today. It's a U format, and I hope that you have been to Wheat U before, or maybe one of our other events, Sorghum U or Alfalfa U. The goal of those events is definitely education, obviously. We try to do a variety of things. We're going to have a farmer panel here in a little bit. We try to have information sessions that really provide you with things that you can take home and use on your farm. And then also help you connect with some of the vendors that are here, our sponsors that are here, so that you can discover the latest technology for wheat. So it's going to be an exciting day. We are going to have 3 different sessions, breakout sessions today. You're going to have the opportunity to attend each one of those. We will also meet in here a couple of different times for lunch and have a keynote speaker at lunch. So a variety of different things as we go along. I just wanted to tell you where everything is going to be and try to direct you so that you don't get lost today. This is our main session room. We'll be meeting back in here for lunch. Then over to the left is going to be the economic management of soil fertility. There's 2 sessions in that room, and both pertaining to fertilizer. Lucas Haig will be presenting this morning, and then Brian Arnell this afternoon. So they will be in that room right next to us. Then the next session is the meeting room. It's kind of our media room. It's a classroom style room, and it's in between, kind of right there by where the BASF booth is. That will be Romulo, and he will be speaking about maximizing productivity and profitability. And then back on down towards the registration area is wheat production and transfer of wealth by Kim Anderson. So great sessions today. You'll have a chance to attend all of them. And the idea being with the breakout sessions is we really like you to be able to ask questions and interact with the presenters. They've all allowed time for questions at the end, but I think I can say that if you have a question as you're going along and you say, can you explain that better, or whatever it might be, feel free to do that. That's what it's about today, the interaction between each other and the presenters and our experts today. Then during lunch, we'll be back in here, and we will have a presentation by Jesse Poland about the future of wheat and what exciting things are going on in the wheat industry, as well as a presentation by our BASF sponsor. So today, I would like to introduce Jenny Lasky, who's up here at the front table. I caught her off guard. That was her off guard look. That she is, I hope you'll recognize her name. She writes a lot of wheat stories for High Plains Journal, and she will be covering the event today. There will be special coverage in our High Plains Journal issue coming up, in one of the issues in September, so you can read all the details about this event there. And today, as we go along, anybody in a High Plains Journal green shirt can direct you to the right place. There's other, we don't all have on green shirts today. We didn't get quite coordinated. Sorry about that. But High Plains Journal, anybody who has one, ask us questions and we'll try to get you to the right spot. So that is, I think, bathrooms down at the end of the hall, but near where the cinnamon rolls were today. I think that's the last housekeeping detail that I have. So. Before I start our day, I just want to thank all of our sponsors that are here, and specifically BASF. And I'd like to invite Luke Lathan to the stage to welcome you as well.
Thanks, Holly. Again, I'm Luke Layton with BSF. I'm a product manager focused really into the cereal crop. So I spend a bulk of my time thinking about the plains, the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Plains in terms of what BSF can do to bring new innovative technologies, how can we approach the markets, really what insights we can provide to help you all in terms of producing a better wheat crop. And really that is the key focus. The High Plains Journal approached BSF about this wheat yield. It fits in perfectly in terms of what we want to approach the market, how we want to approach you all in terms of what your operations is really focusing in on those education insights you'll hear from speakers today. And so I won't take up too much of your time. I appreciate you all for coming out today. I've heard of great harvest results. And really the focus of today is just to think about how we can do that step change of wheat, increase profitability, and really increase wheat acres. As we've seen decline over the last 10 to 15 years. So I'm excited to hear the speakers. Again, welcome anybody to, there's a lot of BSF reps here. There's some actually coordinated in green shirts, kind of like the High Plains Journal, and that wasn't coordinated on our part. Though I do love that. I love blue t-shirt there in front of me, so you probably don't have that in my size, the 3X. Okay. Yeah. But feel free to stop one of our BSF reps, stop myself in terms of any questions that you may have. This is not a product focus, it's really education and gaining insights for you all. So thank you. That's all.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen, Marcia has an I Heart Gluten shirt on. She can stand up and model. Because we've heard such horrible things about gluten. Those of us that are wheat producers love gluten. So those are at the Kansas Wheat booth. And I'd like to invite Jordan up to talk a little bit about the silent auction that's going on in the lobby.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Jordan Hildebrand, and I'm Program Assistant with the Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. And I just wanted to invite you guys to head to our silent auction, which is right near the registration table, and bid on some items for our scholarship fund. So some of the items that you'll see there include Yeti tumblers and koozies. There is a cooler full of wheat beer, just in case in the afternoon you want to fly by. There's a beautiful photo canvas donated by the High Plains Journal, which we really appreciate. There's Royals tickets, there's tickets to the Kansas State Fair, concert series, just about anything that you like. So feel free to drop by and bid on some items. I think we'll be closing that at the end of the last session of the day, so somewhere around 2:30, and we will be announcing those winners and finding you later this afternoon. Thank you so much.
And so while we're talking about special promotions, I wanted to invite you to the High Plains Journal booth this year. We have some cool stuff going on. If you didn't see, there's a stack of those really nice Yeti coolers there, and we are going to be giving all 3 of those away today. The way you enter is go by the booth and either renew your subscription or sign up for a subscription if you haven't, if you aren't a subscriber currently. The more years you sign up for, the more chances you get, and you don't get to be annoyed at the farm shows by our High Plains Journal annoying circulation reps. So I know that's attractive to you all. Just so you know, we're all aware of the fact that they do that, but I'm glad that they sell subscriptions or I wouldn't have jobs. So you can stop by that booth. There's a special promotional price. There's lots of things new things that High Plains Journal is doing, including educational events and educational story series in the High Plains Journal. So be sure and stop by. We don't want you to miss an issue. We also have hot off the presses, the Kansas seed guides, and I think they're in a couple of different booths around the trade show area today. Literally hot off the presses. They came off the press yesterday morning. So you don't even have to wait until Saturday to get your subscription, your High Plains Journal issue in the mail. They're there for you today. So be sure and stop by. It includes all the trial information, all the great information that the K-State folks do. So be sure and get one of those. I think that's all the housekeeping items. We're going to be breaking several times during the day, and we have plenty of booths this year, so be sure and stop by all of those and find out all the great things that they have to provide to wheat producers. So at this time, I'd like to start with the farmer panel. I invite you guys up to the stage. Introduce our 3 wheat producers today. Michael Peters from Akarchi, Oklahoma, Rick Horton from Leota, Kansas, and Mike McClellan from Plainville, Kansas. These guys are on the hot seat today, and I know from over 20 years in the ag communications business that sometimes producers don't always like to be grilled and interviewed and asked all these detailed questions. They like to just kind of go about their business. But at the same time, we know that farmers like to learn from each other, and that's the point of this panel. You can have all the experts that you want, and they're fantastic, and we're happy that they're doing the research that they are and that they are spending their days learning about the wheat industry. But when you've got producers who are actually out there and doing it in the field, it's kind of good to learn from them and learn what they're doing and gain their experience from them. So I'd just like to go down the aisle and let you guys introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about the background of your operation, and we'll go from there. Get draw straws, yeah.
Michael Peters, I'm from Akarchi, Oklahoma, which is the central part of Oklahoma, just northwest of Oklahoma City, about 20-30 miles. Mainly grow hard red salt.
Are they
That's
on?
a good thing.
Are they on? Maybe
Oh, it's on. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, now can you hear me maybe? Yeah.
There we go.
real close.
There we go.
Okay, maybe it's better to take it out.
Yeah, that's,
Again, Michael Peters, Okarchi, Oklahoma. That's the central part of Oklahoma there, just northwest of Oklahoma City, about 25-30 miles. Mainly the hard red winter wheat, what we grow. We have a little canola rotation in with that to help clean some fields up, and getting into growing a little milo and grain sorghum. So that's mainly just have a father-son operation in that area. So.
Mike McClellan, our operations based in Rooks and Graham counties. Palco is our home base for our farm, and if you don't know where that's at, it's halfway between DeMar and Zurich. Or it's actually about halfway between Kansas City and Denver, so that's where we're operate from. My dad and I own the operation. We grow wheat, obviously, grain, sorghum, corn, soybeans, oats for hay, feed for hay, try a little bit of everything. And sometimes I think my sole purpose in life is just to serve as a bad example for others.
My name's Rick Horton. We farm out in western Kansas. Leota's our base. Start there and go north of Garden City. Garden City might be a little bit more familiar name to most of you guys. We're a family operation. It's me, my dad, and 2 brothers. Raise certified seed is part of our business strategy, and we have custom cleaning, custom seed treating, and raise wheat, corn, milo, whatever makes money. So
yeah.
yeah, done right now.
Yeah. Which is, I think we can all relate to
So
that.
true.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what makes your farm unique. Whatever it works. Doesn't matter.
Unique. I don't know anything really unique. I guess we do try a few different things, like the Nolan area. We were some of the first to plant some canola, see how that worked out. In our area, it is a pretty good fit for rotation to clean up the field. So I don't know if that's necessarily unique, but it is something we try to be. If there's new chemicals that might come out, as far as clean fields up or stuff like that, we try to use some of those, just kind of, to let people in the area kind of, it's a test plot per se.
We've been no-till for quite some time, and the only time we work the ground is we're trying to level some stuff up or smooth some stuff up. We were one of the first in our area to adapt no-till. It's provided quite a few challenges, but we're trying working through it with crop rotation. And our operation consists of my dad and I, and my dad's 86, so anybody that's worked with their dad knows that they have all kinds of things that they see all kinds of things that need to be done, but it isn't really what you have in mind. So, and then my nephew works with us too, and he's been really helpful in innovating, so we're glad to have him in the operation as well. That's about all I got.
As far as what makes us unique, I don't know. We're doing a lot of on-farm research. I mean, we're really trying to push what we can actually do out there. Trying a lot of new things, kind of rethinking them. I mean, there's no perfect way to raise weeds, so we're testing a lot of different ways to go about it, and some work, some don't. We're always willing to share that information, and the other side is, unique seed cleaning. Nobody really likes it. My brothers gave me crap this morning. They said enjoy the air conditioning, so I guess.
And you're going to, aren't you?
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Good. Okay. Do any of you raise any specialty wheat, white wheat, or anything like that?
At the current time, we're not, white wheat, they have developed some varieties in Oklahoma that they're starting to push, so I think that will be something in the future we will definitely be looking at. It's kind of one of those things. What comes first, the white wheat grown on the farm level, as far as in elevators, as far as segregation and stuff like that, to be able to keep it separate. So, but that's something we'll definitely be looking at.
We raised quite a bit of white wheat back when it first came out. We had some, obviously, issues with the white wheat that didn't make it pan out. Now I think the varieties are getting a lot better. The issue that most of us are finding in our area especially is the market. We're having a hard time. We would have to deliver white wheat quite a ways away, and we don't have much on-farm storage, so we have not tackled the white wheat the second time around.
Okay.
Well, we raise seed weeds, so we're constantly, I guess that's a specialty in its own. It's labor intensive, dealing with multiple varieties, but and then why we are, we have to raise some of it because there are growers out there, and like they talked about, it is just basically it's an infrastructure problem right now, and just got to get the elevators back used to taking a white wheat. And I'll just go ahead and put a plug in. I mean, there's a new white wheat out for Western Kansas this year. It was called Joe, and phenomenal wheat. But whether we can get the elevators to jump on board and make it a big variety is kind of yet to be seen. So I mean, 117 is what it made. So
Nice. Western Kansas.
yeah, on dry land.
On dry land. Very cool. Okay. What about crop rotation? Can you talk a little bit about how each one of you manage your rotations?
Like I said earlier, as far as crop rotation, the main one we're using right now is a canola rotation. And what that is, so the canola we're growing is Roundup ready. So that allows us to be able to plant the canola there, spray with Roundup, and clean up some of our grassy weeds, whether it be the ryegrass, the rescue grass, just your wild oats and stuff like that. It works as a really good rotation to clean that up. And we have found that after growing canola, the wheat crop, the next year seems to produce a little more, be a little healthier. And that's probably due to a lot of the fact that the root system of the canola is so much bigger, so it breaks up a little bit of that hard peen, which we have some trouble with down there. So that seems to be a pretty good rotation. There is a little bit more management that goes into it. I mean, going into it, you better be doing your soil test and seeing exactly what that crop might need. As far as expense, a lot of people say that canola is a more of an expensive crop to grow. But I have found if you're really putting the management into that wheat crop, so you need to grow a good wheat crop. The canola really is not that much, really doesn't cost that much more to grow that crop. So it is a good rotation. I mean, there is some challenges, harvest challenges and stuff like that, but as far as making a better wheat crop, I believe, it seems to be a pretty good fit for us.
Wheat stubble is the fuel that drives our no-till rotation. The amount of wheat stubble determines what we plant the next year. If we don't have much wheat stubble, we'll probably plant wheat again. And we like to plant corn on our better ground, milo on our poorer soils. After that, it's sometimes we'll go with 2 years of a warm season crop if the moisture is there. But getting out of the corn and back into the wheat is always an issue. We do some soybeans on our better quality ground. We've done sunflowers in the past. So a lot of times we end up planting oats, taking the oats off for hay, sometimes for grain, and then going back to wheat. So that's kind of what our rotation is. I like to lay out a crop for a couple of years after it's been in. If it's in corn, I don't like to go back to corn for 2 years unless I'm going right back into it with corn. With wheat, the same way. I'll do back-to-back wheat. Then I like to lay out for 2 or 3 years before I go back into that. Just for rotation purposes, it seems like it helps a lot with our weed control.
Our typical rotation, more times than not, most of the time moistures are a limiting factor. So our wheat residue is key to just about everything that we do. Stripper headers, has helped that, extremely well by being able to cover ground, keep moisture. It's helped our fall crops out substantially. So in a typical rotation, we'll harvest wheat, spray conditioned manure. More times than not, it'll go to milo the next year, and then we'll harvest milo, it'll set fallow and go back to wheat. So unless we got good moisture, sometimes we'll put milo back into milo or wheat back into wheat if we don't have quite enough residue on the ground. So.
Okay, at any time, if anyone has a question, just kind of wave your hand and I'll certainly let you ask it because you have the knowledge to ask better questions than I do, I'm sure. So, does anybody have a question yet? Oh, back here.
When you're talking your weed problems, what are you talking? Your rotation for?
When you're talking about your problems with wheat and rotation, or
Yeah,
the problems.
what are your problems with, why are you rotating? What weeds, what, you got cheat or?
Yeah, what weeds are you dealing with that you're trying to rotate out of?
Well, as far as where I'm at there in the central part of Oklahoma, in the wheat fields, some of our biggest problems are going to be the ryegrass. That ryegrass, when it gets to it will just get so thick, it will literally choke out your wheat. And it stays green at harvest time, so you literally cannot even hardly harvest that wheat. So that's the reason we do a lot of rotation. I mean, your downy brooms, your wild oats and stuff like that. A lot of the reason we do some rotation to try to clean some of those grasses up.
Yeah, we're kind of the same way in the wheat crop. Our issues are cheat, downy brome. We have some rye problems as well. It's probably like most of you, the pigweeds and the kochia are the big challenges right now that we're trying to solve. And we haven't done that yet.
Kind of the opposite. We don't have a grass problem. We have broadleaf problems out in western Kansas. So, trying to go too many fall crops in a row, milo on milo, you can start to develop bigger pigweed problems. So, good, solid wheat crops, lots of stuff left out there, help with pigweeds extremely well. So.
Okay. Other questions right now?
Are they using Clearfield weeds to help solve grass?
He's asking if they're using Clearfield wheat to solve the problems, grass problems.
Yeah, Clearfield wheat, we have been planting some of that. In Oklahoma, we have the variety double stop. And that seems to work really well to control your rye out in the field. I will say the first year I've used that, I just strictly sprayed, the chemical on it to control the rye, and we found out it will not take care of the ryegrass. So, in our area, we found out if you're going to plant the Clearfield weeds to control the rye, you also have to come back with another chemical to take care of some of the other, like your ryegrass and stuff. So that's something, guys definitely have to look at before they go into that system.
We've used Clearfield in the past where I thought I was going to have some problems. We haven't used it for the last several years, but certainly it's a tool in the toolbox. I'd hesitate to use it.
Most times than not, it's a lot cheaper and a lot more, it's a better economic decision to rotate into Milo instead of trying to go Clearfields out there. So there's very limited reasons as to why we would need a Clearfield weed with our rotation. So more times than not, Milo takes care of what a Clearfield weed would have done for us.
Okay, right here. So what are they using for nutrient management is the question.
Well, they always look down this way, get the guy to go first. Anhydrous in our area is basically on its way out due to a lot of regulations. The elevators just can't afford to keep it around anymore. So, we basically come back with top dress of, 28 in solution or something like that as far as nitrogen. Of course, I would use a starter fertilizer at planting time. So.
We've quit using anhydrous, I don't know, 15 years ago probably. Up until the last couple of years, we were streaming on our nitrogen with our sprayer with the streamer bars. In the last 3 years, probably, we've gone to spreading dry urea. We went in with 2 other guys and bought a dry spreader, and we do that. Works out pretty good. I've got one of the guys I'm in with puts his on in late fall. I like to put mine on in the winter after the first of the year. So that works out pretty good.
Where we're a complete no-till, soil health building is really key to us. So we're blessed by having access to conditioned manure about 20 miles away from us. So that is our primary fertility program. So we'll spread 5 tons. Basically, it's 150 pounds of N, 150 pounds of P in that 5 tons that goes out. First crop is Milo. We'll do soil testing after that crop and decide how much extra nitrogen we need to apply to the weed. And most of the time that goes on with 32% streamed on. More times than not before your weed crop tells you that it needs in. So
I guess I could ask a question too.
Yeah, you can.
You're using manure, I'm curious, you don't do any incorporation?
No, where it's conditioned and it's been turned. When you get in manure, you really got to look at what forms of nitrogen you're getting. So on the analysis, we're close to 95% is organic nitrogen, which organic nitrogen is not going to volatilize on you. Once you get into a spreading cycle, you eventually just constantly keep moving it through the ground. You could look at it as the same way as spreading 1034O on top of the ground. Eventually, you're going to get it into the ground. It's not going to move away on you. So it's more of a build, but and also organic nitrogen doesn't leach out near like what a nitrate will move on you. So yeah, we don't need to incorporate it. It'll make its way into the ground. That's why we like a summer crop on it, because it really needs rain, needs heat, and it needs a crop grown to start getting everything converted over.
Other questions? Back here?
Question for Mike, with the dry, what was your reason for switching to dry? And do you have your own storage then, or how do you just get that as needed to go off, or what?
Okay, so the question, or repeat the question.
He's curious how we put our urea on and why we switched. I think we were losing a lot more to volatilization with the streamed on nitrogen. Just my agronomist was recommending we go that way. I think it's critical for the dry that you get it put on at the right time and not when it's too hot. The way we handle it, we bring semi-loads in, and usually we transfer off with their semis onto our semis, and then we pull a loader conveyor around that's hydraulically driven to the fields and load out of our semis. Did I get what you needed?
I saw another one over here. Right, yep.
In the past, the white wheat had the sprouting issue. You had Joe, you also had the late harvest, how did you do the sprouting issue?
Okay, so the question is, in the past, white wheats have had problems with sprouting issues. We had a late harvest and moisture. Did he have a problem issue?
We did not let it get rained on. And so it wasn't a problem. Daryl Strauss is out there with KWA, and I know, and we have cleaned some of the Joe around, and it, you know, when we cleaned it, we saw it had been rained on probably at least 2 to 3 times, and there was no sprouting issues with it. Is it a Danby on sprouting tolerance that, you know, which, you know, is really good? It's a tough question. It's more of a question for Daryl. So.
Yeah, so stop by the booth. Daryl, are you in here?
It's not a Trigo, so you know, back 10 years ago, it's not going to be that problem.
Okay, he's out along that wall. All right. Okay.
Hey, Daryl, I had a question on sprouting tolerance with
Yeah, nothing
Joe.
like pulling you in and putting you on the spot. All right.
What's the question?
Question about, he's talked about planting Joe, and they were talking about the sprouting issue in white wheat and what you might.
They just wanted to know the tolerance on it.
So Danby is the best variety when it comes to sprouting tolerance. Danby, we'd say, is typically about the same as Jagger was for sprouting, which is in a wet year, you can look at maybe 5 to 8% sprout kind of a thing. Certainly can get worse than that. With Joe, we're not quite that good. So, you know, in the mist chambers, I think we're seeing maybe 13 or 14% sprouting, which is pretty severe. I mean, you put it in the mist chamber, you're really trying to make things sprout. So it's I think, acceptable certainly for the western third of the state. I'd be reluctant moving Joe into central Kansas because of the sprouting, and also because of just the marketing issue. Nobody in central Kansas really wants white wheat right now. So.
Okay. All right. Other questions right now? Right here, back here?
On your manure, putting 5 ton the acre on, are you having some compaction issues? How do they apply that?
I got on them a little bit a year ago. I mean, they were spreading with trucks, and it was over 18 feet. And since then, the guys that are spreading, they went to a tractor pull 30 ton spreader, but they're also going 38 feet wide. And it's a real fine spread, so not typically, as long as, you know, we're spreading right now, just as soon as the stubble gets dry, that gives you plenty of time for moisture, freeze and thaw through the winter time to get rid of any of those issues that you might see. But yeah, I mean, you can't go spread manure in the wheat stubble right now, a little wet, and try to plant wheat right back into it. You're gonna see streaks through the field.
Okay. Clear in the back.
Are you running liquid starter through your drill, and if so, what rate?
Are you running liquid starter?
I have been using liquid starter on wheat, like a 723 4 or something like that. You know, let's say 7-8 gallons to the acre. But this year I'm going to be switching back to a dry starter like the Mez products or something like that, just simply due to the price. You know, the liquid, you know, they're especially as far as the low salt products seem to be a little pricey this year. So, and that seems to be that way the last 2 or 3 years, so I'm going to be switching back to a dry starter.
We run an air seeder and run all dry, always, we've used MESC for the last 7 or 8 years, based on soil test. And we usually try to at least put a little bit down, even if the soil test calls for none. I just think if you get a little boost, having a little bit of nitrogen closer to seed. But we'll run as low as 20 pounds of MESD if the soil test is calling for none. But other than that, we base our rate on soil tests.
The only thing we might do is run some beds, run some phos when we're drilling if it's some ground that doesn't have any manure history, just trying to get a little bit of phos right there in the root zone.
Anybody else right now?
Mike, you said you would have mobilization issues, so you using that stabilizer on it, or?
Wanted to know about
I've
bollards.
used an end stabilizer sometimes with the dry. I have not with the liquid. We always were running it in the winter time. And another reason I switched away from the liquid nitrogen is I just hated what it did to my sprayer. You know, everybody knows what I'm talking about with spraying or putting liquid on.
Okay, other questions or right now? Let's talk about variety. How do you make your variety decisions and what are the things that determine what varieties you choose?
Variety decisions, a lot of that based, the Oklahoma State University and the Oklahoma Wheat Commission, they'll put out test plots across the state of Oklahoma, and you can go to the ones in your area, look at the varieties they have there, kind of look at what would fit in your decision, and then after that, you know, you'll look at the harvest results as far as what it yielded, your protein, your test weight, stuff like that, kind of help you make your decisions. And then as far as the things that are important to me might be, you know, your disease package, what disease package they might have. What it might do in our area, low pH is a problem we have in our area. It seems like, you know, what might have the best acid tolerance and stuff like that. Rust tolerance, you know, what might do the best on a year when your rust situation is bad and, you know, you don't want to make that fungicide application, or it might help you, you know, in years when the rust isn't as bad, you know, where that variety may not get hit as bad where you can get by, but the last few years it's been very important to go ahead and make that application of fungicide anyway. And another thing I think that's coming more important that we need to start looking at maybe is the milling and baking quality, which is a lot of things, you know, as a producer, we don't necessarily look at that much. We're looking at that yield, but, you know, if milling and baking is very important as far as our customers, people buying our crop to help our price be up there. As far as the yield goes, I mean, if you're looking at your disease package, your rust package, your acid tolerance and stuff like that, yield will take care of itself. I mean, if a variety has those, you know, those factors in your yield, you know, fertilizer right, everything like that, your yields will be there hopefully, if Mother Nature cooperates.
We're like most people, yield is the major consideration. Unfortunately, we don't get paid for quality. I wish we did. I think as the wheat industry, it's important for us to increase the quality of the wheat we're producing so we can compete with other crops, but also other classes of wheat. We're losing market share to some of the other markets, so I think we're going to have to start really paying attention to quality down the road. And I think some of the new varieties that are coming out are going to be better quality. We look at disease packages on wheat, but we've made the decision last year that we're going to spray every acre with fungicide. Now that the generics are available, the cost is not nearly as high to put fungicide on, and so we just made the decision that we just plan on spraying every acre. This last year, I could tell we got the planes out a little bit too early on a couple of fields, and we ended up having a little bit of rust come into them. But the rest of the field, I was real happy with the way the rust control was after we sprayed. That's kind of what we go off with.
For variety selection, that has a lot to do with what kind of wheat grower you are. I mean, there is wheats that you can push if you want to manage a wheat. There is wheats that have very good disease packages, and there's still the standbys that you kind of plant it, walk away and forget it. So it really all comes down to what the grower wants to do. So, I mean, develop a good relationship with your local seed dealer, because those are the guys that have the knowledge for your area. And I mean, there's variety after variety right now. Anybody overwhelmed by you know, the 30 varieties that are out there. I mean, it's tough for us to try to pick through which ones we're going to raise and which ones we're going to go with, because we really don't have any idea what's going to sell that year. So, you know, K-State's good at small plot data, but there's no substitute for full farm data. I mean, weeds can react different once they go out in large production. So you need to have good relationships with your local seed dealers to get that kind of information from you. And then, you know, seeding rates are going to become a huge thing. How many guys planted their corn based on pounds this year? Did you plant 10 or 20 pounds of corn? No, you planted by population. So K-State started to do that research. We've been doing that research. I mean, you go to our website, Gordon Seed Services, just to look at a seeding rate test plot and look at what population will do. And it's going to take a while to really kind of nail some of this stuff down. But I mean, we're talking, you know, that's really part of what we're doing to push our yields. So that Joe was dropped at 375,000 seeds per acre. Mainly we were trying to stretch it, but we also pushed it. That was 27 pounds. So
talk a little bit about, are you done?
yeah.
Talk a little bit about seeding rates and how you make those decisions.
In our area, most of the wheat, I'm going to say, goes down that, be a high number. A lot of people here saying that 85 to 90 pound range, but we have that cattle addiction in our part of the world. So it's like to graze those cattle out there in the wintertime, which is another I failed to mention when it comes to, you know, picking your variety. A lot of people look at that in our area as far as what you're able to graze that cattle on will make the most forage, and yet they'll pull those cattle off and come back and make a decent wheat crop. So that's the seeding rate in our area. If you have fields you know that you're not going to graze them, you might drop that back down to the 60 pounds. But I think, like he was saying, we're going to have to get a little better at looking more at the seed population. I mean, if you go look at some of the kernel size of this wheat, there's just a huge difference, you know, in the kernel size. So that's probably something we're going to get better at looking at.
We usually start drilling wheat about the last week of September, and a lot of times by the time we get done, it's almost November. We're trying to get soybeans off and get that planted back to wheat, but we'll start out at 65 pounds, and by the time we're done, we'll be at 90. We just kind of keep increasing it as it gets later, realizing that we need to also look at seeds per pound, but I think we start out roughly 800,000 and increase from there.
Yeah, and as I was talking about earlier, it really depends on how hard you're going to push your wheat, what your fertility is in the ground as to how much tillering you're going to have in the fall, tillering capability per variety. But, you know, as we watch these wheats, there are a certain final head count that is kind of a sweet spot on yield. And for some varieties, that might be on a 10-inch space drill, say 55 to 62 heads, final heads per foot might be that sweet spot. And, you know, and run the math behind everything, and you still have the ability to raise 100 bushel wheat. Some varieties need to be up closer to 75 to 80 final heads. So it's when you're planting, available moisture, fertility for anticipated tillering. So if you're loaded up, good moisture, you got fertility to go, you go drop 60 pounds, you're going to overpopulate your wheat crop. You're going to pull too much moisture in the fall, and you're going to come out, you're going to have too many primary heads. You know, primary heads they're the ones that want to last the longest, so they'll be the biggest moisture pull in a dry spring. Mother Nature and wheat are really good at figuring out how much it wants to keep. So you can slough tillers off in the springtime, in a dry spring, and not really pull your moisture down so bad in your field. So it's more of a, you know, we're going after high yields, but we're also wanting to cut crop. So that really is the point behind it.
Questions, anyone? Really? Okay. So I think you talked a little bit about no-till, and you talked about the importance of managing crop residue. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about in that part, or on that point, how you manage residue?
One thing I did want to mention on picking varieties that I failed to mention, I'm a little frustrated with K-State in their yield trials because they don't plant their yield trials like we plant on our farm. They're usually going into summer fallow ground, tilled ground, and so we definitely look at that information from K-State, but try to talk to other no-tillers and use our own data to pick varieties.
No, that's fine. Any residue? Anything else with residue? Okay. All right, so we know that this year was a good year. Was it your best year ever?
Yeah, I'd say it ranks up there in the top one or two, yeah. I'd say it'd be the best year as far as bushels.
It was our best year by 17 bushels per acre.
Significant.
Significant, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it was our best year. Was it our best growing season that we've ever had in the past? Probably not. I just think that we're starting to see advances. So when we look at, when we go through, I mean, we kind of get to see this because we're carrying so many varieties. There is starting to be a cut, you know, everything that was 3 years and newer was a yield advantage. You know, we started to see some of the older weeds start to drop off in yield. I'll use Cam 112 for an example out of my area. It was a fantastic weed for a long time. Had issues, could go down, had to manage it, had to spray it, but it was always up there in a good year. It always gave us our biggest yield. It wasn't this year. So there are the new genetics, new weeds. They're starting to move us forward. So we need to start to look at them.
I guess that's kind of a loaded question in a way.
Yeah.
Is it our best year?
Yeah.
Probably
Yield-
not.
yield-wise,
Yield-wise,
yeah,
yes. Profitability-wise, it's probably
Right.
ranking down there in the very bottom, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Aware of that.
I think we're going to change best management practices on our farm to dusting the wheat in because we dusted 75% of our wheat in last fall. We just had no moisture to plant into. We reduced our number of acres, but because of the lack of moisture, obviously we had some rain in the fall and got the wheat up, and it all came up pretty uniformly. Before it started raining this last spring, we had wheat that was turning blue. I was thinking we weren't going to have anything. So the key this year to the wheat crop was the cool period that we had. I think Justin told me we had 42 days of fill weather that was under 95 degrees. Normally we're at 28. So the secret this year was definitely the cool temperatures that allowed us to fill grain.
Does anyone out there think wheat's profitable right now? I mean, you got to really watch your inputs, but don't skim on the things that's going to give you bushels, because that's what makes us money. So watch your equipment costs, shop around a little bit harder, go to generics, or whatever you can do, but don't skim on the thing that gives you bushels, which is primarily fertility. So.
Okay. Questions? This one?
Fungicide applications, something we're all doing more and more of. How do you decide when to start doing that? Have an opinion whether airplanes are as good as ground
So he's asking about fungicide applications and that we're all doing more of that, and how do you decide when and how to do it?
When you see the plane flying in your neighbor's field, you know it's time. There's a lot of places you can go now to look at that data, kind of see how the rust might be moving up, decide if you need to do that or not. Then you've got to be out there, looking at your wheat crop, what stage is it in? I would agree with him. I would say it was not this year's wheat crop in the year before last. I was probably guilty of getting the fungicide put on too early. And then we had the rust hit it really bad later. If you're using those generics, you don't get that, residual a lot of times, which most of us are using that now. So you got to be really careful on that timing to make sure you're not out there too early. I mean, if you're using ground rigs, a lot of times, you might be concerned about getting too wet to get on, or, you know, if you're using airplanes, that's not a big issue. This year I did have most of mine applied with the ground rigs. I felt like they were just possibly getting a better coverage on the crop, just, you know, was my main thinking there.
In the past, I've always had it applied manually. This year, we're planning on applying it ourselves with our ground rig. I do think you get better coverage. It just got too wet. We were actually gonna rent another ground rig and run two, so we could get it on at the right time. Like I said earlier, I think we got some of ours on a little too early, but most of it, you know, you look for flag leaf being out before it heads is the ideal time. But I would prefer ground rig. I think you're gonna knock some down, but it's worth it for the better coverage.
Yeah, fungicides and fertilizers. Fungicide's a big part of if you're going to push weed. And we ground rig ours because we do an early application. That early application half rate is pivotal. It's very important timing wise. So 4 to 5 weeks prior to joint, that's when you want to be putting on that first fungicide if that's the route that you're looking at. So Piraxor has been doing really well on that first application, and we'll switch over to different chemistries for the flag leaf application. But yeah, we ground rig everything, so we tram line, and we got our tracks out there to begin with anyway.
On your first application, do you apply that with any herbicide or anything else?
No, because we're babying our wheat, and so I don't like to really mix anything because everything the wheat plant has to metabolize. So if you're gonna, and more times than not, it's too early when you need to put your herbicide down to run that first application of fungicide. So a lot of times if you're doing, you know, we apply our herbicide in February, so I'd just be throwing money away with that first fungicide application. It's strictly a timing deal because that 4 weeks prior, once you hit double vegetate on a weed, that's when you start to determine your head size. So you can, yeah, and that's really part of what we're going for with some lower seeding rates. We're going for big, tall heads. You know, we want 18 spikelet heads is what we want, what we need. So.
Questions? Claire's back again.
How much an acre are you spending on inputs?
Most of my wheat was somewhere around $176 an acre. The stuff that, and we always do push some quarters, seeing what might work, what might not. 206 is as high as we got. So it did pay benefits to do that this year in a good wheat year. So you got to recognize, do you have a big wheat crop coming? Can I push it? Can I run with it? And more times than not, it will reward you with bushels. So this was just a prime year to really push wheat. So
I think we're probably in the 100 to 150 usually. This last year, we had some fields that the fall crops weren't very good, where we planted wheat and we didn't have to put any nitrogen on at all. So obviously the costs were less on those.
Oh yeah, Mario, I'd say I always figure time you get that wheat harvested in the bin, total cost, you're going to be in that 220 range, somewhere in there. The total, you know, from start to finish, your seeding, your fungicide, your grass control, your fertilizer, you know, all that good stuff, you're going to have, you know, 220 to even 230 in it.
yeah, out of pocket costs was about 136 to 155 out of pocket. The rest is, you know, covering equipment, covering everything else that goes with, you know, farming.
Okay, yep.
Are any of you using lime to control pH?
Any of you using lime to control pH?
Yeah, we apply a lot of lime. In our area, we have the, right now we're using a lot of what we call the water treatment lime. It comes out of the water plants in the area. I happen to be fortunate to have some piles pretty close to my house that we're able to use that. Yeah, and you'll apply that at a rate of 2 to 3 tons per acre. This year I have started doing some grid sampling, which I think is going to work out quite well, because you always have those areas in your field that may need a little more or a little less, and with the cost of line, what it's costing to get that applied, I think that'll be a great asset to me.
Okay. One last, do you guys have any final thoughts? You're glad this is over? All right, well, good. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your information with us. Let's give these guys a round of applause. So now we'll have a break. There's about 15 minutes before the first session start. We might just ask that you choose your sessions carefully. If the room's full, there's going to be another one here coming up later this afternoon, so you can certainly go on and catch that one later. We'll start in the session rooms at 10:15. Thank you.